alas, heave-ho, it's a long, long way to go. It's a long, long pull with our hatches full, braving the wind.
My name is Ed Trester, currently living here in St. Augustine, Florida. Originally from Brooklyn, New York. I was born in Brooklyn, New York in 1927. I am a veteran of the Merchant Marine of World War II. At age 17, I decided I want to go and help my country. And I really wanted to join the Navy to begin with. And a little story, I walked into the Navy recruiting office, and there was a Navy lieutenant sitting behind the desk there, and he asked me, "What can I do for you, son?" And I said, "Well, I want to join the Navy." And he said, "Where did you come from?" I said, "Well, I came from high school." He said, "You go back to high school." So that ended my small career with the Navy. So as I walked out the recruiter's door there were fellows standing around. They said there's a Merchant Marine office that they're looking for merchant seamen. And I had no idea what the Merchant Marine was. And they said, well, it's ships. And you know, at my age, that age, ship is a ship. So I did go down and walked into the recruiting office of the Merchant Marine office. And I said, I want to join the Merchant Marine. They gave me some paperwork, asked me a few questions. They told me to come back the next day and have my parents sign the papers. So my father, who was a police officer, very strict guy, he wasn't too happy about me quitting high school. But I told him I wanted to go in and join the Merchant Marine. He gave me his blessings. He signed the paper. I took him back the next day, and right on the spot they gave me a physical. And they said, you come back next day and be prepared to leave. And so things were happening real quickly for me. So I went back home, told my dad I'm leaving the next day. And as I say, he gave me his blessings, and went back to the recruiting's office the next day. Next thing I know, I'm on a bus headed out to Sheepshead Bay in Brooklyn, New York. I spent about 4 weeks at Sheepshead Bay. The only thing I really remember at Sheepshead Bay is they taught us how to fire a 20mm machine gun, which later on they were mounted on some of the merchant ships. And the other thing I remembered about it is jumping off a 35-foot tower with a life vest on. So I guess they were teaching us how to abandon ship as well as launch lifeboats. So I graduated from Sheepshead Bay. Well, you know, as a young man, I had bad eyesight, and I wanted to be a decker, so they put me in the steward's department. And my first ship, they assigned me to the saloon mess boy. I was a saloon messman waiting on the captain and the chief engineer. Well, that was all right. My first ship was the SS Charles Carroll. It was a Liberty ship. And it was docked in Philadelphia, so we went from New York to Philadelphia on a bus and boarded the Liberty ship. And it was funny, I was walking down the dock, there were 2 other Liberty ships docked at this ammunition depot. And all I saw was that the ships were being loaded with howitzer shells. We had, I learned later on, there were 8,000 tons of howitzer shells in the holds. And on deck, we had a locomotive, we had engine parts, jeeps, trucks, etc. So a little bit squeamish, you know, 8,000 tons of ammunition in the hold. So we left Philadelphia, went to Halifax, Nova Scotia, joined a convoy out of Halifax. There was about an 80-ship convoy, which we joined, and of course we left. We had no idea where we were going. About halfway across the Atlantic, our steering engine broke. So we broke down, the convoy moved on, and we were drifting about 2.5 days in the Atlantic. And there was some submarine activity at the time, but nothing happened. But a seagoing tugboat from Bermuda came out and got us and towed us back to Bermuda for the repair of the steering engine room. So we got repaired and we joined another convoy, here again not knowing where we're going. The next thing I remember is that we were going through the Straits of Gibraltar. I saw the Rock of Gibraltar in front of me. The ships narrowed down from a high, as I say, about 80 ships. We were going through at 3 ships per passage through the straits. And there were 2 ships on our stern that got torpedoed. One happened to be a tanker, and it just blew up in a large ball of flame. And I saw guys jumping off the ship and being rescued. We had rescue ships that went back and tried to save them. But the convoy moved on. Our first port of call was Oran, North Africa, where we unloaded all the deck cargo. So we unloaded the deck cargo, and after that we made it up to southern France, Marseille, France, where we unloaded all of our howitzer shells. Here again, there were about 2 or 3 other ships loading ammunition also. We had a little scare that night because for what I understand, some German reconnaissance planes came over and were taking pictures of the harbor. They dropped huge flares which lit up the whole harbor, so they were taking pictures. I don't know what to expect after that, but we unloaded our cargo and we got out of there and made it safely back to the States. Yeah, well, you know, I was a little frightened being a 17-year-old kid, but you know, I got through it okay. I came back, and of course I was a big sea salt now. When I came back to Brooklyn, everybody wanted to know where I've been. I know I've been to Africa, I've been to France, I've been to Bermuda, you know. And so I really, it was quite a trip, that first trip. Stayed home for about 2 or 3 weeks, and then here again I signed up for another ship. On that cruise we went to London, and we brought back German prisoners back to New York on my second trip. But the third ship was an interesting cruise. That was the SS Thomas Fitzsimmons, which was also a Liberty ship. We were sort of towards the end of the war now, and we left here again on a convoy going to Europe. And as I say, an interesting trip because the war ended when we were on our way to Europe with supplies. So we just made like a U-turn, went back through the Panama Canal and out to the Philippine Islands with our cargo. And while we were there, it looks like they were assembling a fleet of large ships for I don't know if they were trying to make maybe an invasion of Japan, when the atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and the war ended like that, boom. So we came back with our cargo because the war had ended, but to quote Yogi Berra, it wasn't over till it was over, because what we had to do now is bring all the supplies that was around the world, as well as our soldiers, back home. And as a fact, some of our ships brought back war brides, even back from England. I was on one ship, we brought back war brides from England, English ladies with babies. So the trusted Liberty ship, which delivered all the cargo during the war, now you might say, became the Love Boat, and brought back all these wives back to New York. So the war was over, and here I am, a high school dropout in New York, and I decided to stay in the Merchant Marine because I like to travel, the adventure. And so I upgraded myself to the deck department. I became an AB on the deck department, and I sailed on many, many other ships around the world. I've been from North Africa, South Africa, Europe, the UK, Ireland, Scotland, all over South America. After I left the Merchant Marine, all in all, I stayed in till the late 40s, 50 maybe, and I left the Merchant Marine at that time, and I eventually went in the insurance business. I must say, the Merchant Marine, to me, the experiences I had in the Merchant Marine, I felt made a better man of myself, mind and body.
Ho, my lads, heave ho, let the sea roll high or low. any ocean, sail any river, give us the goods and we'll deliver. Damn the submarine, we're the men of the merchant marine.